Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm Valerie Boykin, a proud 38-year member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am a member of the Zeta Epsilon Omega chapter in Suffolk, Virginia, but I also serve as the co-coordinator of the Virginia State Connection Committee. And our Connection Committee is our social action arm for the sorority. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the opening session of our joint 2021 Legislative Day, sponsored by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Our theme for our event is From Chaos to Community, and what a fitting time for such a conversation. It happens to be the final book written by the late Dr. Martin Luther King. Our world, our country, our state, and our communities have experienced a lot of chaos in recent months. And it's time to turn our attention, our passion, and our energy to our communities to help them rebuild and thrive in such a challenging time as we have experienced. So again, we welcome you to this opening session. And now I'd like for you to meet my co-hosts for this morning. I turn to my Alpha brother.
Good morning, Sora Valerie, and good morning to everyone out in virtual land. My name is Jerry Fitz. I am a current member of the Z Delta Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha, which is the Henrico County alumni chapter. This is my 25th year in Alpha, and I'm extremely excited to be with you this morning. As Sora Valerie very eloquently said, we are in the midst of exactly what our title for this weekend of events talks about. We are in the middle of chaos, but how do we then translate that into from chaos to community? And as Alpha and AKA have done for years and years, here we are in the midst of it, and here we are coming together to make a difference, to educate our community, to inspire our community, and hopefully to encourage our community. So with that being said, we have a full day of events laid out for you all today. We want to get started with a very in the right way with a prayer. And so what I would like to do before we get started with anything else, I'd like to turn the program over to Sora Melanie Reed for an invocation. So Sora Reed, if you would please give us an invocation.
I'd like to welcome you to bow your heads for a word of prayer. God of wisdom, thank you for every public servant involved in governing our cities, our states, and our country. As we gather together today in unity, empower us as citizens to work alongside of them as they work to provide equal opportunity for everyone to succeed in their work, reach their goals, and pursue their dreams. May we work tirelessly together, unified to untangle the many social issues which plague our society. Give our leaders grace to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly in all integrity. May they defend the oppressed and protect the virtuous. Give them wisdom to enact laws and regulations that foster an environment where every citizen can flourish to pursue the welfare of the city and the good of every citizen. Let the peace that surpasses human understanding guide our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now I want to thank Jerry and Melanie for those welcoming words, but also that most passionate prayer. Thank you again. We now turn our attention to our conveners, and we'd like to introduce you to the conveners for this event today. We have with us, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Jennifer King Congleton, who serves as the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Jennifer King Congleton was elected Mid-Atlantic Regional Director in 2018, and at that time, she promised to do a new thing. Since that time, she has established several new initiatives such as the Mid-Atlantic Leadership Institute, the Undergraduate Symposium, and the Phirst Regional Spiritual Care Team. Accessible, responsive, and genuine, Ms. Congleton's sincere passion for Alpha Kappa Alpha has helped her to sustain and maintain a lively sisterhood through the region, even during the pandemic. Ms. King Congleton was initiated into the Theta Alpha chapter at East Carolina University. She's been a dedicated member of the sorority, serving faithfully on the local, regional, and international levels. Currently, she's a member of the Iota Kappa Omega chapter in Greenville, North Carolina, where she has served in numerous roles. She's also held numerous leadership roles and positions up to her election as Mid-Atlantic Regional Director, including serving as the 57th Mid-Atlantic Regional Conference Chairman, East Carolina Cluster Coordinator, and representing the Mid-Atlantic region on the International Program Committee, just to name a few. A pillar in the Greenville community, Ms. Congleton is a graduate of the Pitt Greenville Chamber of Commerce Leadership Institute, a member of the East Carolina University Board of Visitors, the Pitt Community College Foundation Board, the National Council of Negro Women, and National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She was selected and honored for her community engagement in the 2018 AT&T Heritage Calendar and was the 2015 Volunteer of the Year at the American Cancer Society Hope Lodge. Ms. Congleton is the immediate past president of the Links Incorporated, Wilson Rocky Mount Tarboro chapter, and she's a member of Cornerstone Missionary Baptist Church, serving as a Sunday school teacher, usher, and on the communications ministry. Professionally, Ms. Congleton is the administrator of the Chaplaincy and Volunteer Services at Vidant Medical Center, where she is responsible for leading the hospital's pastoral care department and approximately 345 community volunteers. We all know how important that work is, especially during times of a pandemic. With family as her foundation, Ms. Congleton values and loves more than anything her mother, son, and granddaughter. A leader for such a time as this, Jennifer King Congleton continues to do a new thing and lead the Mid-Atlantic region in a marvelous way. Without further ado, I introduce to some and present to others Ms. Jennifer King Congleton.
Good morning, and thank you, Valerie, for that introduction. Good morning, Virginia, and welcome to part 2 of Virginia's first Pham Legislative Day. If you missed last evening's town hall, you really missed a treat and a very informative and well-planned event. I bring you greetings for more than 10,000 plus active members of the Mid-Atlantic region of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the first and finest, needless to say. We are extremely proud to be a part of this initiative. Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated with the Mid-Atlantic region, the marvelous Mid-Atlantic region, the states of North Carolina, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. The first Pham Legislative Day is a collaboration with the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and we are so pleased to be a part of this, and we look forward to other initiatives. AKA's lead is Alpha Kappa Alpha's Political Engagement Initiative, which stands for Learn, Empower, Advocate, Decide. Let me say that again. Learn, Empower, Advocate, Decide. As our country moves forward with the new administration in Washington, D.C., Alpha Kappa Alpha is committed to ensuring that our local communities stay politically engaged and informed. Our theme is very fitting in light of the challenge our country has endured over the last 4 years and even within the last 3 weeks. Social and racial injustice, COVID-19, and skyrocketing unemployment have all weighed very heavy on our communities. But each of us can play a part in healing that must take place to move us forward with hope and a resolve to effect change and the determination to be in good trouble. It has been a real exciting week in our country and, of course, for our great sisterhood. We are immensely proud that the Vice President, Kamala Harris, is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. Being first is something that is not foreign to us. It is also something that we do not take lightly. For 113 years, our sorority has been dedicated to service that includes providing programs such as this one to help citizens gain insight into the issues that affect them, their families, and future generations of Black and Brown people. Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to our brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha for keeping this legacy of family as a partnership. I want to thank the planning team of my Alpha Kappa Alpha sisters and the brothers of A Phi A, Annette Smith-Lee, Valerie Borkin, Allison Baker, and all of the others that worked on the connection committee. Amira Salam, our international representative that you'll hear from later, and also our brothers, and particularly our district director. And we have with us today, and you'll hear more from Dr. Everett Ward, who's immediate past president of Alpha Phi Alpha, Carlos Clanton, Tim Brown, all of them that have worked so hard in making this a reality. I thank you so much for being with us. And again, Phirst Pham, we appreciate you. Also, if there are other town hall topics that you would like to see addressed, please post that in the chat, and we will look forward to bringing those to you in the future. God bless you. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, Madam Regional Director Congleton. We certainly appreciate your leadership, your guidance, and in convening this occasion. It is my distinct pleasure now to introduce my good brother, Brother Fred Scott. Brother Fred Scott is a Richmond native and a Hampton University alum. I believe that was Hampton Institute when Brother Scott was there. He also pledged the Gamma Iota chapter of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He is a retired educator of 33 years in which he worked at every level, including administration. He now works as a consultant all across the country. He is the current district director and president of the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, known as VACAPAF. And I humbly introduce to you Brother Fred Scott. Brother Scott, thank you as well for your leadership and your vision in convening this program. Brother Scott.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brother Fitz. I appreciate that wonderful introduction. And for those who are here this morning, thank you for being a part of this combined effort between Alpha Kappa Alpha and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'll say this, the town hall yesterday, just like Jennifer Compton just said, was outstanding. And this is day 2, so we have another great day planned for you. I'm such a proud member of my organization, and I represent a great state of Virginia with 36 chapters and over 2,000 some odd members. So the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and the Virginia chapters of the Mid-Atlantic region of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, we are here to host and welcome your attendance for today. From chaos to community, where do we go from here? Dr. Martin Luther King had a vision, and he was one of our brothers, and that vision is still playing out, but we're not there just yet. But today, we have members of our Virginia legislative and legislative branches here to provide information and insight to all of you, especially on topics of justice reform, COVID-19, education, and even more. We are here as a fraternity and as a core value of our organization to advocate for our communities. And in our local communities, we need to see equal justice for our people. We need to see equal justice for our people. As a lifelong educator, my passion is to have an effective education system from K through college to grow and develop every child's potential. All of our decisions and our policies now affects their future. I will always advocate for human rights, education, and a better economic climate. We need to reshape the chaos of our communities. There are little boys and there are little girls looking for us to renew, uplift, and reform. The foundation needs to be reset so they can achieve and receive a high quality education and pursue equal business opportunities and be respected as human beings in our judicial system. I want to say thank you today to all of the brothers who have participated on our CPO committee, Brother Fitz, Brother Clanton, Brother Brown, thank you so much, and all the other brothers of the committee, to our wonderful sisters who've collaborated with them. Thank you for your initiative. Your hard work has definitely just been phenomenal. Your efforts has transcended your planned activities. So I want to also say this. We appreciate our governor and our Attorney General today for their participation in this event. I want to especially give a shout out to our dear brother, Justin Fairfax, for his tenacity and wonderful support, continual wonderful support for our fraternal activities. And that also includes Brother Don Scott and Jeff Brown. It is such a great honor today that we're going to also bring to you our immediate past 35th General President, Dr. Everett B. Ward, for sharing his voice and also his support. His outstanding leadership moved our fraternity to push forward change in the Oval Office. To everyone, we have a theme in our district of VACAPAF, and it says this: together we will enhance, uplift, and reform for our people today, tomorrow, and the future. Continue to support, look for other opportunities we're going to do to collaborate. And Jennifer, we're going to keep this train moving on between black and gold and pink and green. That's what our founders put in place. Thank you this morning.
At this time, we'd like to thank our conveners for their vision and their leadership. We also want to thank them for the accolades for last night. We do believe it was a very informative town hall meeting as we talked about COVID-19 and also had a very, very lively discussion about justice reform in Virginia. We ask your patience today. We're going to be a bit fluid and flexible with our agenda. We have a number of executive branch individuals and legislators floating in and out, and their schedules are tight. And so at this time, we're going to pause on introducing you to some other officials because our Lieutenant Governor has arrived and needs to leave shortly. So I'm going to ask Brother Jerry if he'll come back and introduce us to our Lieutenant Governor. Jerry?
You this morning and appreciate all the comments that have been made thus far. It's my privilege. It appears that we have the Honorable Mark Herring, our Attorney General here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, is joining us now. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to the Attorney General, Honorable Mark Herring. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that warm welcome, and would like to thank everyone who is on this call and the town hall for your engagement and your advocacy. It is really making a difference. And thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about what we've got going on in our office and some of our priorities for 2021. You know, we're only a few weeks into this new year, but my team and I have really hit the ground running. Just last week, I announced the creation of Virginia's first Conviction Integrity Unit to expand and enhance our ongoing work to identify and overturn wrongful convictions. This is going to be a distinct team within my office with a singular focus on evaluating and investigating claims of wrongful conviction and proactively overturning them when we find them and implementing important changes in state law that will allow more people who've been wrongly convicted to finally be able to have their cases heard in the courts. Our goal as a Commonwealth has to be justice and truth. It cannot be just getting convictions and defending them in defiance of logic and new evidence. And so this will be an important tool of accountability and justice and a safeguard against prosecutorial misconduct, institutional racism and bias, and mistakes that could really cost an innocent person their freedom. And to wrongly convict someone is to deny them just untold opportunities, and we have to make sure that when we come across those wrongs, that we make them right. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I announced that we were creating the first civil rights office as a part of the Attorney General's office. Now, for my entire administration over the last 7 years, protecting the rights of all Virginians has been a top priority. We've been working for years to create a true, robust Office of Civil Rights, building capacity and honing the focus of our work. When I first came in, we won a major case for marriage equality. We've been able to block Trump's first Muslim ban and a whole lot of other unconstitutional and un-American actions he's taken. We've won landmark lawsuits to remove symbols of Confederate propaganda, like the Lee statue here in Richmond. And while that case has been appealed to the Virginia Supreme Court, we are closer than ever to getting it removed. Fighting housing and employment discrimination. We led the first ever investigation into racial bias in a Virginia school system. And so that has been a major focus of our work, but now we've been able to centralize it and enhance the work. We also got some important legislation passed last year that will beef this up. So working with Senator Louise Lucas, we were able to get pattern or practice authority, which means if there are local police departments with a large number of repeated instances of unconstitutional policing and brutality, we can go in, take an independent look, and find out what's going on that is letting that happen. And I want to make sure that every Virginian knows that as Attorney General, I will continue to be relentless in defending their rights. And then we've got a lot of legislative priorities. I've been calling for years to end our system of cash bail. It doesn't make any sense to keep someone who is a low-risk, nonviolent offender sitting in jail, while someone who is a bigger risk to public safety is allowed to go awaiting trial just because they have access to wealth. We also have a lot to do with record expungement. In Virginia, even a relatively minor offense can end up being a stain that really limits your future opportunities in so many ways: employment, education, housing. And if you have shown that you deserve a second chance and you've earned that, then you should get it. And so we've got real opportunities now this year, I think, to get that legislation passed, working with some of our other legislative leaders like Charnel Herring. And then one of the key features of the work that I was engaged in over this past fall was making sure that Virginia had safe, accurate elections. We worked really hard, make sure that the Postal Service wasn't being weaponized by our former president, and also just to make sure that they were safe. We saw some instances of potential voter intimidation, so right away I got out, issued an opinion to make sure that everyone knew there were laws on the books, both state and federal, to protect Virginia voters and that they should feel safe. Put out an advisory opinion and also training videos to make sure elections officials and law enforcement knew that they had tools and how to use them. So, but we also saw that there were some holes in Virginia law, like right now, open carry. As you can tell, I live near a railroad track. So open carry of firearms right now is permitted in polling places, and that could easily be turned into something like voter intimidation. So there are some holes in Virginia law that we can use that we need this legislative session to address. And again, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your advocacy, your engagement, and thank you for all of your support over the past few years, especially in 2013 and 2017. And I'll be up for re-election again this year. Let's keep this progress going, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Attorney General Herring. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, but thank you also for helping to keep this Commonwealth a safe place for us to live and thrive in. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks again for having me, and again, let's keep this progress going.
Awesome, awesome. So I apologize, we had the order a little off. We also are expecting our Lieutenant Governor to arrive a little bit early. But in the meantime, it's my pleasure to introduce you to some additional officials in our organizations. It is my pleasure to introduce you now to Ms. Amira S. Salam, Esquire. With close to 2 decades of experience in congressional and political affairs, Amira Salam is a multifaceted senior government relations professional with a demonstrated track record of working effectively with Republican and Democratic members of Congress, senior officials in the White House, and with corporate leaders. She has worked for the Congressional Black Caucus, the U.S. Department of State, national associations, and in higher education. From policymaking to advocacy training and community engagement, Amira is uniquely positioned to help individuals and organizations create winning solutions to influence policy outcomes. Amira earned a law degree from the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law and a Bachelor of Arts from George Mason University. In 2018, she graduated from the prestigious Yale University Women's Campaign School. She is a former AKA Leadership Fellow, member of the International Constitution Committee, and Special Assistant to the 18th Mid-Atlantic Regional Director, Ms. Joyce Henderson. Amira is currently a member of the Zeta Chi Omega Chapter and Mid-Atlantic Region's representative to the International Connection Committee, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I present to you Ms. Amira Salam, Esquire.
Well, good morning. Mrs. Jennifer King Colleton, Mr. Fred Scott, Governor Northam, other elected officials, and all distinguished guests, good morning. As you have heard, I serve as the Mid-Atlantic representative to the International Connection Committee of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am pleased to bring greetings on behalf of my committee chairman, Reverend Dr. Rosin Brock, and our international president, Dr. Glenda Glover. The Connection Committee is the social action arm of the sorority, which continues our 113 years of excellence in service, advocacy, and activism. We ensure that our members remain a major force in addressing the societal concerns of African Americans and other underserved communities. Today's legislative day is a great reflection of this work. And so I congratulate my dear sorority sisters in the Commonwealth and the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated for convening this important forum. As we transition from chaos to community, let us continue to join forces to leverage our collective voices to advocate for health equity, for criminal justice reform, for voting rights, for education funding for our HBCUs. These and other policy initiatives will help us continue to advance the common good of mankind and, my dear sisters, to continue to lead. So with that, let's continue to march forward and let's continue to demand the changes that will serve for the betterment of all humankind. Thank you and have a great program.
Thank you, Ms. Salam, for all of your hard work and all of the endeavors that you are part of. And with that being said, it is my esteemed privilege and pleasure to announce or to introduce our immediate past General President, Dr. Everett B. Ward. Dr. Ward served as the 35th General President and is, again, our immediate past President of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Since being initiated into the fraternity, he has led and served at every level of the organization, to include leading the largest region within the fraternity. Dr. Ward is an active philanthropist supporting issues that are critical to families, communities, and he serves as vice chairman of the Association of Episcopal Colleges. Dr. Ward is also the former president of St. Augustine University. Without further ado, I introduce you, Brother Dr. Everett B. Ward, our immediate past general president. Dr. Ward.
I want to extend a special greeting to my friend of long standing, a respected leader, our good friend, Jennifer King Congleton, who is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. It is an honor to be with you. And of course, to my brother Fred Scott, the District Director of Virginia, and all of the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. I am pleased to be with you this morning. When our beloved brother Dr. Martin Luther King in 1967, some 54 years ago, while being isolated for scholarship in Jamaica, penned from chaos to community. Where do we go from here? Understood that our nation was faced with challenges that demanded that we commit ourselves to making certain that the leadership of this nation and that all citizens are represented equally and fairly, and that injustice end immediately. I want to just share with you a quote that I think is so appropriate from Dr. King in 1967 from his publication, and following what we as Americans witnessed on January the 6th, I think underscores why we must continue to fight at every level of this nation. Dr. King said, the persistence of racism in depth and the demanding awareness that Negro demands will necessitate structural changes in society have generated a new phase of white resistance in the North and the South. And so I say to you, my brothers and sisters of the Divine Nine and of the Phirst family, we have a special obligation to make certain that now more than ever before that we advocate for legislation and public policy at the state, federal, and local levels that will bring our collective support around such issues as education, healthcare, police reform, environmental justice, and economic development. And of course, the preservation and the sustainability of historically Black colleges must be our number one priority. We must use our collective power to work both not only at the state level, but also at the local level, school boards, city councils, county commissions. We must intensify our efforts to be strong advocates at every level of government, and then also as evident as we celebrate as a Phirst family, but also as members of the Divine Nine, the election of the first female vice president of these United States of African descent and Asian descent, represented in the most capable and intellectually prepared Vice President Kamala Harris. And then we all take great pride in the leadership that will be exemplified by our brother, the notable and distinguished brother United States Senator Raphael Warnock. And while we all celebrate their achievement, let us not be so consumed in celebratory activities that we take our eyes off the prize. Yes, we applaud their election, but we have more elections before us. And we must make certain that the public policy reflects their issues and our issues as a people. So today I applaud you, the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority and the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity in the state of Virginia, for your leadership, for your commitment to make certain that, as we have each done for over 100+ years, keep fighting for justice and freedom and equality for all people. And I want to extend a special acknowledgement and appreciation to our brother, Lieutenant Governor Justice Fairfax, for his tireless leadership and commitment, not only to the citizens of Virginia, but to the precepts and the defining mission of our great fraternity. So it is my honor to be with you. I look forward to continuing to work with you as this first family, as the Divine Nine, because we have much work to do. And as we, the men of Alpha, learn from one of our founding jewels, when he said, "We shall fight till hell freezes over, and then we shall fight on the ice." Our struggle continues, but I know we shall always achieve the goals and objectives, because when we are together, there is nothing that can stop the force of our organizations. God bless each and every one of you, and continue to always serve as you have done, so future generations, when the history books are written, can look back in 2021 and read that we, the men and women of these great organizations, held high the name and never stopped fighting for our people. God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, General President Ward, for those words. We will, again, we appreciate your flexibility in working with us in our agenda. As Soror Valerie stated before, we are kind of moving around as people are able to join us. And so it is my esteemed pleasure to now introduce you to the Honorable Justin Fairfax, our Lieutenant Governor for Virginia, as well as our good frat brother. So with that, without further ado, Brother Fairfax.
Well, thank you so much, brother, for that very kind and generous introduction. I also want to thank my dear friend, brother Dr. Everett Ward, who has just serves as an extraordinary general president of our fraternity, and now immediate past general president. Thank you for your tremendous leadership, for your friendship, and all that you've done to lift us all up. I'm honored to be here with you on this first Pham town hall. My family is itself a member of the first Pham. Of course, I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. My mother is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. My eldest brother, in whose footsteps I follow in so many ways, also is a member of our esteemed fraternity. And I just wanted to thank all the tremendous leaders here in the Eastern region and throughout our nation who have done so much to push our agenda forward, to advance the common cause of justice, fairness, and opportunity, to ensure that the generations that come after us will benefit from the tremendous work that so many who have come before us have done. And Dr. Ward and so many others have already highlighted what that has meant in our own time. Of course, having just inaugurated an extraordinary leader in Kamala Harris, our new vice president, who has blazed so many trails throughout her career and is doing so in this defining moment in our history, and what that means for so many young people coming up, that they can see those examples of leadership and of power, and how that can benefit the broader community. And so here in Virginia, we have an extraordinary opportunity to not only advocate for those things that make our communities better, but to really chart a different course and a different future in our Commonwealth and in our nation. In 2019, we commemorated 400 years since the beginning of Western democracy here in North America, but also 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were forced to land right here in Virginia, in Hampton, Point Comfort, Fort Monroe. And those really have been the dual strands of darkness and light that have run through the veins of the Commonwealth of Virginia and through our nation for 4 centuries. And now in this, the second year of the next 400 years, we have an opportunity to go in a different direction, to ensure that no longer will people be held down and oppressed, defined by their race, their gender, where they were born, what God they pray to, who they love, what zip code they come from. We now have a chance to ensure opportunity for every single one of us, and to lift up the cause of African Americans and of so many others who, for the large part of the history of this nation, have not been brought within the scope of that opportunity. And so with your legislative day and your legislative push, you will have a significant impact in ensuring a future that is one focused on justice, fairness, and opportunity. In Virginia this year, we have a chance to abolish the death penalty. And as you know, Virginia historically has been the #1 state in terms of executions via the death penalty, which is not only, I think, immoral, but also racially discriminatory. And now we have a chance to change that forever. We also have a chance to rebuild opportunity in education. And I have proposed a plan, a 40-30-10 plan, to rebuild all of our K through 12 public schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia that are at least 40 years old, with a $30 billion investment, and to do that within 10 years. It will transform and redefine what is possible for every young person in our Commonwealth. And dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and all that has meant to our families, our most vulnerable populations, our small businesses, our healthcare workers, our teachers, our students. This has been a challenge that no one really anticipated the scale or the scope, but we also have not anticipated the scale and the scope of our ability to respond in this moment. And so we want to make sure that we are rebuilding an infrastructure that deals with everything that has been exposed in the course of this pandemic, all the disparities, all the cracks in our society that have let far too many people slip through. And so right now in Virginia, when we talk about health, housing, criminal justice reform, educational opportunity, we have a chance to define the next 400 years right now in this moment. And it's through the leadership of extraordinary organizations like Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated that we are going to get there. So your efforts are ones that we need now more than ever. As Lieutenant Governor, I preside over the Senate of Virginia. I represent 8.5 million Virginians, and I'm able to break ties, which I've done on significant pieces of public policy and legislation, including a defining moment in 2018 where I broke the ties to pass Medicaid expansion here in Virginia. And to date, over 500,000 more Virginians now have health insurance as a result of our common efforts and of those tie-breaking votes. And so what you are doing right now matters to millions. And it would not be possible for us to do the work that we are doing to redefine the future for so many people without your dedication, your commitment, and your drive. And so I thank you for giving us the courage, the will, and the vision to succeed in this most monumental of tasks at a most monumental time in the history of Virginia and of our nation. So this group is no stranger to doing things first. This group is no stranger to overcoming extraordinary odds and ensuring that the future is bright for all of us. So to Dr. Congleton, to Director Fred Scott, our tremendous leader here in the state, again, to Willis Lonzer, our incredible General President, and Dr. Everett Ward, my dear friend, our immediate past General President. I thank you all for what you do to make sure that our living shall not have been in vain, that this is a moment in our history that will define the future. And I cannot think of a more special time or a more extraordinary group of people to go on this mission with. So I am grateful to you. I will be traveling to Richmond again today to preside over the Senate during our General Assembly session. And I look forward to all that we will do right now to make sure that our children and our grandchildren understand that what we have done along the way, it's been all for them, and that they will carry on our fight because of the fight that we have in this moment. So I leave this time inspired. I leave here full of hope and promise and gratitude for all that you all mean to me and to so many others. And I know that our best days and our best years are ahead because of your leadership and because of your work. So thank you all so much. God bless you. And let's continue this work and continue this fight. The best is yet to come.
Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, this is Valerie Boykin. On behalf of the AKAs and Alphas, we want to thank you for joining us today and for your tireless efforts across the Commonwealth. A special shout out to you for that tie-breaking vote in 2018, because Medicaid expansion was certainly one of our priority areas in that year. So thank you again for joining us. Godspeed.
Thank you, Valerie. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So to our guests and our members today, we're going to shift again. And at this time, we're going to have greetings from some of our legislative branch officials. First up, we have a soror, an AKA by the name of Jerica Goodman, who serves as policy director for our Speaker of the House of Delegates. Jerica is a graduate of George Mason University, and again, she works with the speaker who has broken ground and made history. So we welcome Jerica, and we'll have her tell you a little bit about the Speaker of the House of Delegates, Speaker Phillicorn, and also a little bit about their policy initiatives currently. Welcome, Jerica.
Thank you, Valerie. Good morning. Thank you to my sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and to the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated for the invitation. It is my honor to bring you greetings on behalf of the first female Speaker of the House of Delegates, Speaker Eileen Phillicorn, and an immense pleasure to join you today for the inaugural Joint Legislative Day at the Capitol. Here in Richmond, we had tremendously consequential 2020 regular and special sessions, helping Virginians address the immediate economic and public health challenges caused by the pandemic while setting our Commonwealth on a path to rebuild even stronger in the years ahead. There is no question that the 2020 regular and special sessions were both historic. Democrats had full control of the House, the Senate, and the governor's office for the first time in 20 years. We made momentous progress on gun violence prevention, voting rights, criminal justice reform, environmental protection, anti-discrimination, and so many other issues. We passed a record number of bills and had a record number of laws signed by the governor. What we have shown in Virginia is that when you are inclusive of diverse perspectives, you get better policy. Of course, criminal justice reform was a top priority for the House Democratic Caucus from the very beginning. Last summer, the tragic and wrongful deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor served as a wake-up call for many in our society and in the Commonwealth. And in 2020, we passed legislation that banned the use of no-knock warrants, reduced the militarization of the civilian police force, created statewide minimum training standards for law enforcement, and strictly limited the use of chokeholds. Although we made great strides, the 2020 session is well underway, and we are continuing the great work to keep Virginians safe and to rebuild our economy. As a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I thank all of you for your leadership across the Commonwealth of Virginia. When we empower each other as women in positions of power and influence, we lift our families and communities as well. I know I am, and the speaker as well, is grateful to have had the chance to address you all today, and we both look forward to seeing you all in person soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerica Goodman. We appreciate you bringing remarks on behalf of Speaker Eileen Phillicorn. And please congratulate her on behalf of AKA and Alpha Phi Alpha for her historic election as Speaker of the House of Delegates in Virginia.
So it is my pleasure.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Soror Valerie. I'm sorry. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce you all to our dear brother, Delegate Jeff Bourne, who represents the 71st District in the Virginia House of Delegates. And so without further ado, I introduce you to the Honorable Jeff Bourne.
Sorry. Thank you all for letting me on. It's good to be here with you this morning as I just about closed out my night last night with the Phirst Pham. As always, happy to be here. Happy to be a member of the oldest, the coldest, and the boldest fraternity in existence. It is so good to have the support of the alphas and the AKAs as we transition and traverse on this journey of making Virginia a more equitable and fair place for all Virginians. I know it's no secret to anybody on this call, on this Zoom, that at every step, at every turn of progress for civil rights, it's been a member of the Divine Nine that has been there leading the way. And I know with Delegate Price and Delegate Scott and Delegate Torrey and Delegate Hayes, all of the members of the Divine Nine in the House and the Senate, we're just happy to play a small part. And so whether it be on criminal justice reform, making sure that our neighbors pay fair and fair energy prices, whether it's making sure that we protect the healthcare services and resources that the least of us have, whether it means making sure that we're having our kids access to high quality education throughout the Commonwealth, no matter their zip code, no matter their neighborhood. I'm happy and privileged to stand toe to toe with some real fighters who believe the same things that you all believe. And so I'll stop rambling there and stick around for as long as I can to answer any questions that anyone might have.
We want to thank you, Delegate Bourne, for your wonderful remarks, but also for being one of the hosts of our event today. We appreciate your support. We now would like to welcome the Honorable Marcia, also known as Sia Price, representing the 95th District in the House of Delegates. Welcome, Ms. Price, Delegate Price.
Thank you, and good morning to my marvelous sisters and to the ice cold brothers of A5A. This is a beautiful thing to witness. The Phirst Pham taking over the virtual Capitol Square this morning, and I really, really wish that it was in person so that I could see the sea of our colors. But this is the next best thing, and so I do need to give a few shout outs just to begin to my regional director Jennifer King Conkleton, to my AKA mom, Valerie Price, and my A5A dad, Mayor McKinley Price, to my Sisters of Lambda Omega chapter, and to the brothers of Zeta Lambda chapter, and to my colleagues of the Divine Nine. And of course, shout out to everyone that made it possible for us to say the vice president is my soror. So good morning. It's amazing to have so many of you watching and with us, tuned in, engaged, informed, and speaking up for the important issues we face. Unfortunately, 2021 hasn't been starting off the best in the lived experiences of our communities. The chaos that we saw and as we watched a hate-filled insurrection right before our eyes, and now watching the absolute polar opposite of justice happening as Black men and women are being held on lesser charges with no bail, but actual domestic terrorists are being sent home to their mom to await their trial. It is gaslighting and demoralizing. And of course, the ever-looming danger of the ongoing pandemic that is ripping through our communities and has impacted our brothers and sisters and gripped us with heartache as we grieve and try to figure out how to best go on about our lives as we must continue. 2021 is proving to be 2020 part 2, and we have every right to be angry, tired, frustrated, and jaded. But yet, we have community and we have each other, and you're here this morning, and that gives me hope for the future. You are still committed. Knowing the history of our organizations has shown us that we can achieve great things for ourselves if we do the work. So thank you for not being too jaded to show up or too frustrated to speak up. Thank you for being exactly who the Phirst Pham has shown ourselves to be, leaders and doers. We don't have a choice but to keep going, so let's do it. But where do we go from here? Well, today you are proving that we go to speaking up for legislation that helps Virginia be more just, compassionate, fair, healthy, and safe. We go to speaking up at the federal and local level too. We go from being cute to being cute with effective advocacy efforts. We go from Facebook rants to protest chants to policy discussions and accountability work. We go right where the history of the Phirst Pham has shown us we belong, in the front, leading the charge for justice. I wish you well on your sessions today, and remember, you bring a unique voice to legislation that needs to be heard. If there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know. I'm always here, and Valerie Boykin and Valerie Price know how to get in touch with me. Have an amazing Phirst Pham Legislative Day, and I look forward to many, many more of these events. Thank you, and see you on the House floor.
Thank you, Delegate Price. We thank you so much for your passionate remarks, but also for being a host for our event on today. So ladies and gentlemen, we pivot again from our legislative branch to our executive branch, and it is my honor to introduce to you the Honorable Ralph Northam, the 73rd Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and also my boss, Governor Northam. Welcome.
All right. Well, good morning, and it's great to be with the Phirst Pham. Wow, the Alpha Fraternity and AKA, and I know you just heard from Sia Price, who's doing wonderful work here. I know Mamie Locke is a member, Jeff Bourne, Delegate Don Scott. So thanks for all of you for being on the call this morning, and thanks for allowing me to just share a few thoughts with you and what's going on in Virginia and where we want to go. As I always say, I'm sorry we can't be in person this morning, but we are still in the middle of this pandemic, and I hope that all of you and your families are staying safe and healthy throughout this, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get there, especially if we work together. But I wanted to kind of emphasize how important it is for folks like you to gather at events like this and advocate on what's important to you, communicate with people like me, communicate with your legislators like you're doing. This means the world, because this is a team effort as we move forward and make sure that Virginia is heading in the right direction, that we encompass equity in what we do. So I just thank all of you, and I wish I've always enjoyed being with you all on this special day, but I wish we were together, but hopefully soon. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank our legislators. They have really worked overtime in the past year. As you know, they had a great session a year ago, and then COVID-19 hit us all. They came back to Richmond in September to deal with the budget and also to deal with criminal justice reform, police reform, and did a lot of good work. And then they're off to a great start this year. And as you might imagine, with the House working virtually, with the Senate, some of them virtual, some of them at the Science Museum, and all of them have to communicate together. It's a challenge, but they're doing good work. And I know we're not supposed to be political, but I'm a proud Democrat, as you know, and I really believe that when we elect Democrats, good things happen in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So that's my politics for today. But I wanted to talk briefly about COVID-19. Sia told me I had 2 hours, so I'll probably keep it a little bit briefer. But if you don't like the length of time that I talk to Sia Price and Mamie Locke. That's who I answer to. But in all seriousness, COVID-19 has hurt all of us in this country. It's hurt all of us in Virginia. Believe it or not, our first case in Virginia was back on March the 7th. And while we have learned a lot, and I think we've come a long way, we still have a tremendous amount of work to do moving forward. But we've got a good team here, and we're going to do everything that we can to get this pandemic behind us and get back to our near normal lives, get our children back in school, get businesses back up and running. But businesses have closed, people have lost work, people have lost the roofs over their heads, people sometimes don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so a lot of the work that is being done during this legislative session is really to address that. Again, commending the legislature. They took on things like Medicaid expansion. Now over 500,000 Virginians have access to health care. That's a big deal as part of the Affordable Care Act. They made sure that people didn't lose their driver's licenses when they couldn't pay their court fees and fines. That's a big deal. They raised the felony larceny threshold to $1,000. It could probably go higher. But as you know, it used to be at $200, $250. So that was a large step in the right direction. We have restored the rights of over 40,000 Virginians, and I'm going to say another word about that in just a minute. We have pardoned more individuals than any previous administration, which I'm very proud of. And something that is important, I believe, it's not the answer to all of our problems, certainly, But, we have to talk about symbols. And when there are symbols that glorify the institution of slavery, and as you all know, we have 401 years of history in Virginia, those symbols, there's no place for them in today's society. And so whether it be the arch at Fort Monroe that symbolized Jefferson Davis, or the statue of Robert E. Lee in Charlottesville, or monuments in the city of Norfolk, or monuments on Monument Avenue here in Richmond, these, for the most part, have come down. We have one left, Robert E. Lee, that is kind of going through the court system, but we're confident that will come down in the next couple of months, if not sooner. So we've made a lot of progress in that regard. And I'm proud that Virginia has taken that step. As far as what we're going to focus on in this legislative session, the first thing that I will address is restoration of rights. In order to have rights restored in Virginia, that process has to go through the governor's office. And by the way, Tracy DeShazier, working in the Secretary of Commonwealth's office, they have done tremendous work. But shouldn't it be automatic? I think it should be. So we have a constitutional amendment teed up that will be working its way through the system to make restoration of rights automatic once someone has paid their time, if you will. So that's something that I hope all of you will advocate for. Certainly, when we talk about equity in Virginia, marijuana legalization is on the table this year. If you look at the statistics, white people and black people use marijuana at the same rate. People of color are 3.5 times more likely to get arrested and 4 times more likely to be convicted. So there's a problem there. And, a couple years ago, we passed legislation to use marijuana medicinally. It has a lot of uses for that. Last year, we decriminalized marijuana. This year, we're going to, I think, take important steps forward in legalizing marijuana. That process will probably take a couple of years, but we kind of started the ball rolling and we're working that direction. Another area that we're doing a lot of good work in, and something that I feel very, very strongly about, is the death penalty in Virginia. It's time for that to go. That piece of legislation is working its way through the Senate, doing very well, and I suspect we'll do the same on the House side. So finally, after many years, Virginia can end the death penalty. And, it's an equity issue. It's also an issue of resources that are not well used. It doesn't deter criminality. And finally, it's inhumane. And so, again, this year is the year for that. I know you're going to hear from my wife, if you haven't already, which will be much more entertaining than I am, but something that we have been working together on, and she has been carrying a lot of the water for, is early childhood education. We want to make sure that all of our children, especially those aged 3 and 4, have access to early childhood education. When one family has the means to send their children to what I call pre-K and another one doesn't, that's really what starts the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And as you all know, children learn to read up until the 3rd grade, and then after that, they read to learn. And if our children aren't reading, then they're handicapped for the rest of their lives. So good work, and I'll give the credit to my wife, Pham, for all that she's done on early childhood education. And then finally, G3, which is get skilled, get a job, and give back. It allows Virginians to go to our community colleges and get degrees that without incurring any debt. It also helps with wraparound expenses like transportation, housing, childcare. All of these things are very important. But so many people have been hurt during COVID-19 and are out of work. We want to be able to train and retrain these individuals and allow them to do that without incurring any extra expense. So good things are happening in Virginia. Finally, I will tell you that I want you all to be vigilant COVID-19 is still with us. The numbers are trending down, which is good. But our job right now is to continue to wear our masks, to keep our distance, wash our hands, take care of our loved ones, our families, our friends. And really, I want to say this as a doctor. This vaccination is really the light and the hope at the end of a long, dark tunnel. I believe that it's safe. I will take it. Our family will take it. And I would really encourage all of you that when your time comes, please be willing and accepting to take the vaccination. I'd also tell you to be patient. Just real quick math, Virginia gets 105 doses of vaccination per week. In order to vaccinate 50,000 a day, which is our goal, we need 350,000 doses a week. So you can see there's a delta there. And we want to make sure that we continue to work with our partners. We have a great new partner in the White House that we're very excited about with President Biden and Vice President Harris, who, by the way, is one of Phirst Pham. So want to put a plug in for her. But we're working closely with them. I have a call a little bit later today to make sure that we can get the doses in Virginia that we need. So thanks for the privilege of being your governor. Thanks for allowing me to share a few words with you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to being with all of you in person as soon as we can. Thanks so much.
Thank you again, Governor Northam, for joining us, and certainly thank you for all of your leadership. Most certainly your leadership with the COVID-19 outbreak and what you've done for the Commonwealth in these tumultuous times. So thank you, sir.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. And so without further ado, we're going to introduce Delegate Don Scott, also Brother Don Scott, who's also a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And he is serving as one of the hosts for us today. And he represents the 80th District for the Virginia House of Delegates. Delegate Scott.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Always good to be at a family reunion. So I just want to thank you all for having me this morning. As Brother Fitz said, I am also a member of the illustrious Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm also blessed to have two aunts who are AKAs. They pledged at Texas Southern University way back in the day. They're always on my mind, and one of them is going on, but she always encouraged us to stay involved with our fraternity. So I'm a life member of Alpha and still very much involved. I'm a member of Epsilon Nu Lambda chapter here in Portsmouth, Virginia. Thank you for having me. The things that I'm focused on and the reason that I got involved in politics in the first place is because how impacted I've personally been, as well as a lot of folks that I know in my community around this criminal justice system. And I call it a criminal injustice system. And so, and I want to make it a justice system. But we have focused on helping folks get out of jail sooner with the skills that they need to acclimate. Right now, we have criminalized poverty. We have criminalized youth making poor decisions, putting them in detention and introducing them to the system that feeds on brown and black bodies. I heard the governor just say that he, and I commend him, he has done more for criminal justice reform as governor than any governor in the history of Virginia. And that is a fact. It can be demonstrated, the legislation that he has signed. But we empowered him to do that because we came out and voted. And when we vote, we win. When we're engaged, we win these issues. Dr. King, it's appropriate that we are talking about chaos to community, and he asked the question, where do we go from here? Little did he know, less than a year later after that book was published, he would be assassinated. And he talked about the fierce urgency of now in that book. That's where that phrase came from. And right now we are in, again, as always, as a people, we've always been in that fierce urgency of now. And it's wise of us and continue to be wise in the decisions that we make and how we pick our leaders, those leaders that associate with our values, those leaders that if they're wrong, they can be corrected. I think about LBJ back in the day and what he did to get the Civil Rights Act passed, what he did to get the Voting Rights Act passed back in the 60s. And think about the kind of resistance that we face right now. It is very, very telling that these things are cyclical. Every time we advance, then there's a backlash, and so we have to continue to keep our shoulders to the grindstone. We have to continue to work hard and keep focused on these issues. The things that I'm promoting and pushing the legislation that I'm behind this session is to end parole as we know it here in the state of Virginia right now. You can be put on indefinite parole, which means you never come off, and you can be sent back to prison for things like missing an appointment with your probation officer, for missing a call or losing your job or not being in a certain place at a certain time. And people would be surprised to know that there are 6,000 people in Department of Corrections who are there for committing no new criminal offense, just a probation violation. So that is the area that I'm focused on this session, along with ending the school to prison pipeline. There is a system right now, and a lot of folks don't know about it. It's called a ballot court order, whereby if a child is considered truant or missed class or runaway, he goes to court and the judge will say, unless you go through this counseling, unless you do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to issue a court order to do that. And if you miss that, then I'm going to put you in jail. And so we do the kids that are determined to be what they call, it's an acronym called CHINS, Children in Needs of Services, Children in Need of Services. And so what they do is they say, you need services, you need help. And if you screw it up, and you come back to court, then we put you in jail. So for your own good, we're going to throw you in jail and introduce you to a lifestyle and a culture that is not becoming and will not help you move forward in your future. So we're going to end that system, and I have legislation that's made it through the criminal subcommittee, both of those pieces of legislation, and hopefully they will pass with your help and your aid to help us all stay on the grindstone. As you can see, we have an unprecedented amount of members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. And we need your help to make sure you keep us focused, make sure that we just don't talk black, that we walk black, and make sure that we and you know, I say this with all due respect to all those who've come before, but Governor Northam has done a fantastic job of taking the issues that we care about and making them his own. You heard, when's the last time y'all heard a governor that said that we need to restore rights immediately upon getting out of prison? He has taken on those issues himself and said this is wrong and he wants to right them. When is the last time y'all heard a governor in Virginia say he wants to legalize marijuana because of the disparate impact it has on the people of color? We know right now that Black people are only 19% of the population here in Virginia, but we make up well over 50% of the folks who are incarcerated. So either you have to believe one of two things. You either have to believe that we are inherent, the racist tone, that we are either inherently criminal or that this is an inherently racist system. I choose to believe the latter, and I hope that you will too, and continue to support the issues that we most care about. I am very, very pleased to see the alphas and the AKAs stay engaged in these political issues, because when we know you're watching, you be surprised that we vote the right way. We do the right things. And I'm gonna close on this. I know we've talked about criminal justice a lot, but we have to talk about economic justice. There are things that are happening in this, and you can't have one without the other, because poverty leads to crime. And we have to be able to put economic stimulus in our communities. So I want y'all to think about this. There are casinos, there's sports betting that's coming in. How many Black owners? How many Black folks are participating in the ownership? Marijuana legalization. There's a $1.8 billion illicit market right now in the state of Virginia. If that's legalized, will we create Black wealth? Because we know that we've created Black criminalization with marijuana. Are we going to create Black wealth now because of marijuana legalization? So we need to make sure that we keep our eye on the ball and ask our leaders to make sure that we are creating Black wealth from some of the things that are coming, the casinos, sports betting, marijuana legalization, and some other things. So I want to thank all of you for having me and listening to me this morning. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I love my A5A and I love my AKA. So I wish y'all the best. Thank you.
Delegate Scott, we thank you so much for joining us today for those welcoming remarks, and we thank you so much for your passion and your hard work. As a relatively new member of the General Assembly, you are rocking things. So thank you again for being with us, and continue to march on.
Thank you for having me.
So with that, we will now introduce you to one of the newest members of the Virginia General Assembly. We have Delegate Angela Williams-Graves, who was recently elected in a special election to fill a vacant seat in the 90th District. Welcome, Delegate Williams-Graves.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Yes.
I'm
Yes,
going to
yes,
go
we
with
can hear
that's a
you.
yes.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the beautiful, talented, and smart women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and to the equally as handsome and talented and smart gentlemen of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity as well. I just want to take an opportunity to welcome you here today to the First Pham Legislative Day event. And for those of you who know me, I do have some, although I am not Greek, I do have some ties to the family. My father was an Alpha, and I made a great decision in hiring an Alpha as my legislative aide. So I have my ties to the family. I am just going to ditto all of what was said earlier. For those of you who know me as well, know that I'm a PK. And one of the things that my dad, I would hear him counsel young preachers, and he would say, don't go back and re-preach the sermon, right? So I'm not going to go back and re-preach everything that has been said. I will tell you that Don Scott is a beast on criminal justice reform. He is absolutely a beast. And so I am proud to serve with him and with others in the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. I am proud to work with our Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, as well as our Governor Ralph Northam, in some of the reforms for marijuana legalization. That is a priority for me, as well as criminal justice reform. One of the bills I had the honor of presenting earlier last week was with meaningful counsel in a first court appearance. Oftentimes when individuals go before court, they go in their first appearance before a judge. They don't have an attorney, they don't have counsel, they don't have the opportunity to obtain bond and therefore be released and get back to their lives. And these are still people who are innocent until proven guilty. And so one of the things that I'm working through now, it's headed to the Money Committee, but is to make sure that when an individual who has been detained is before a judge the very first time, that they have an attorney with them, that they know what their charges are, and that that attorney has the opportunity to argue bail and get a bail number set for them so that they can be bonded out. And so I'm again excited to be here, and I appreciate everything that our fraternities and sororities do for our community. I can tell you personally, I have been the recipient of the help and support of many of the fraternities and sororities who are on this call, as well as others who are not represented today, but who are part of the Divine Nine in my efforts to get elected and to get reelected. And so I am grateful for your support. I am grateful for your help. What I invite you to do is pay attention to the sessions. Everything is virtual, and that means it's all, you can check, you can log in and you can watch us work, and you can make sure that we are aware of things that are meaningful to you, that we are aware of your legislative priorities, and that we are aware of your perspective as bills come up. I often say that I am not the keeper or the harvester of all good ideas. I have some, but there's a lot more brain power around me that allows me to be great. And so our ability to legislate is only as powerful as those who are pushing us and supporting us and providing us with good legislative opportunities, legislative ideas, good points of reference, good alternatives to what is being presented, giving us a different perspective. Yes, you can see it this way, but have you looked at it that way? This is how this will either have a positive or negative impact on our communities. So I invite you all to pay attention to what's going on in the House of Delegates, pay attention to what's going on in the Senate, and reach out to
your legislators and let us know how we can best represent you, because we are in the room where it happens, and we want to make sure that we are taking advantage of every opportunity to put forth good legislation and to pass good legislation, and make sure that the decisions that we make are helpful to our community and that will put our community in a good space, and that the decisions we make are not detrimental. So thank you for having me. Thank you to my friend Carlos Clanton, and for all of those who are here on this call. Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me a few moments to address you.
Thank you so much, Delegate Williams-Graves. We appreciate you joining us this morning, and congratulations on your recent election.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's now my pleasure to introduce you to our final speaker for the morning. We have Ms. Adele McClure, and she serves as the Executive Director for the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, and she's also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome, Ms. McClure.
Thank you so much. Good morning to my sorors, my brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and everyone tuning in this morning. I am incredibly honored to be a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I hope that you all are well and hanging in there during these tough times. I appreciate you all being here and just want to give a brief overview of what we're working on in the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus. And you've just heard from some of the details from our members. We just released a 8-point agenda on the first day of session, and our agenda continues to build upon and expand the efforts that VLBC has championed for decades. And so we're working on passing measures that expand and protect civil rights, digital rights, democracy for all, pass the Voting Rights Act of Virginia, expand justice and policing reform, and that includes marijuana legalization, death penalty, automatic expungement, ending qualified immunity, and the practice of solitary confinement, supporting and protecting our workers, especially during this pandemic, and expand opportunity and security, economic opportunity and security that Delegate Scott mentioned before, and also expanding housing access and strengthening eviction protections so that this pandemic in the housing crisis is not further exacerbated, and expand access to healthcare and essential services, access to education, and supporting Virginia's children, and pushing for environmental justice in transit and public safety. And so we have a number of resolutions that our members are carrying that you've heard today, including the declaration of racism as a public health crisis. And so the entire detailed VLBC agenda can be found on our website and our social media platforms. And we look forward to pushing ahead and working with you all to break down and root out systemic racism and build up systems of justice and equity. So thank you so much for showing up and for all of the important work that you do. And I wish you all well on this legislative day. And please, please, please feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you, Adele. We so appreciate you being here. And I want to just make sure the audience heard that. Did we hear a definition that says racist is a health crisis in Virginia? And we might see legislation coming forth with that?
That is correct, Sora Valerie. So we have Delegate Aird is carrying the resolution to declare racism as a public health crisis in Virginia.
That is amazing, amazing. So thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely.
And so to our audience, we want to remind you to share the session today. Many of you are joining us through Facebook Live, through YouTube, and through various other platforms. So we ask you again to share this. We have heard some amazing information and had greetings from the legislative branch and the executive branch. We are about to conclude our opening session. We thank you again for joining us. We thank all of our speakers. We are about to go into our closed session following a break. And so those of you who are registered guests, we remind you to check your email, and there will be a link for you to come into our closed session and our workshops for the remaining period of our session today. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Jerry, for co-hosting the morning with me. We know you have a workshop coming up in just a few minutes. And so we ask everybody, again, check your email for your link. If not, in your registration, you should also have a tech support number to reach out to if you're having trouble getting in. We're going to take a very short break, and we ask you to be in your sessions at 10:30. Moderators will start soon thereafter. So thank you all, and have a wonderful day as we tackle this issue from chaos to community. What shall we do next?